Welcome back, gang. It's Deltia from Deltiasgaming.com here with an Oblivion Remastered beginner guide to get you started on the right foot. In this guide, I'm going to cover what's new in the game, how you can start strong, combat, character creation, and more. You should watch, don't skip ahead, but there are timestamps below. Special thanks to Bethesda for giving me a game code to Oblivion. Been playing it, love it, played the original. Now I want you to know what's new and different with this remastered version of Oblivion. So first off, I guess I should answer, what do you get for ordering the game? So Oblivion Remastered Standard Edition comes with the digital game, Shivering Isles, and Night of the Nine story expansions. There's also some other downloadable content. For $10 extra, you can get the digital Akatosh and Mayroom Dagon's armor, weapons, horse armor set quest lines, and a digital art book and soundtrack. You can also get the base game on Game Pass, so it's widely accessible to a lot of people. And no, I'm not trying to sell you this. I don't have a code, unfortunately. As far as the new improvements, you're going to have enhanced graphics and textures. People are going to look, feel, obviously move a lot different, better frame rates. Okay, obviously the graphic stuff. A lot of the main quest, side quest, and content remains unchanged. There will be a little bit more dialogue, but not a lot. So don't expect a massive amount of new quest or something. The biggest change in terms of gameplay is really the skills and leveling. So it blends kind of Skyrim and Oblivion into one, so it will be a little bit more familiar to use. Simply using skills, levels, and progresses them. I'm going to touch on leveling a bit more. The combat and magic, there'll be a little bit more animations. Something in combat or outside is sprinting has been added. So now you can get around a lot faster. It seems odd that this game didn't even have sprinting, but it does. You're going to see different user interface, controller schemes, redesigned menu, and interface. So basically it's the same game, little more dialogue, you gotta sprint, and the leveling system is a bit more streamlined than originally launched. Now let's talk about creating a character, builds, classes, and so forth. Okay, during character creation and early builds, typically you're gonna wanna boost endurance attribute first because it's gonna determine your hit points gained per level. So starting with at least 40 is going to help maximize your overall health and survivability, especially if you're playing on high difficulty. I was getting nuked because I screwed something up I wanna tell you about. And that's what I screwed up with my racial choice. So racial choice, like elves, any kind, so that's dark elves, wood elves, Altmer, which is high elves, orc or red guards are going to start with the higher HP. So there are going to be 10 playable races. They're each going to have their own unique ability, skills, and power, and a background story. Another thing that's confusing during character creation is your race and your origin. When you're selecting this, you have one that's west and east, or left and right. This will determine your stats. So when you're going to pick this, you can open up stat window by hitting the F key on PC. It should display attributes. And in the original game, this was based on male or female. I know, very sexist, right? But in all seriousness, check your origin and check your stats. Typically, you'll get increased speed or your main stat, but it will lower some other ones. So make sure to check this when you're picking your individual character. It matters. So for instance, if you pick the left side for Breton, you're going to get increased intelligence and willpower, but you're going to lower your agility, speed, and endurance. If you pick the right side, you're going to have increased willpower and intelligence, but lower your strength, agility, and endurance. So who cares if you have lower strength? The high rock choice is my favorite. So in summary, I would just pick a elf or an orc or a red guard, depending on what you want. Elves, specifically like Altmer, high elves, and Breton are very good choices. The game really centers around magic. So melee isn't like the super sweaty and you can make a couple builds, but the spell sword and battle mage, these are like the best classes. Touch on that a little bit later. So magic is really important in Oblivion. So high elf, Breton, Redguard, Orc, my recommendations. Next up, you're gonna have to pick the birth sign. So this is a constellation under the stars person is born. It's going to bestow a unique magical power or passive or active ability. So it's either gonna be a blessing or a curse depending on what you pick. Something to know about the birth signs is you cannot change them in game unless you're gonna use console codes, which are basically hacks and cheats. Don't cheat. The reason you don't wanna cheat is it will disable a achievements, and then how else are you going to flex your 100% I'm great at the game achievement to your friends that don't care? All seriousness, this is a permanent choice, so take it seriously. So they're going to be broken down into 3 different categories: something that gives you attribute bonuses, magical effects, and then lesser or greater powers. All attributes are going to be capped at 100, so some of the Birthsigns won't let you go beyond this cap. Keep that in mind if you're trying to mid-max your character. So the one I would highly recommend, based on my earlier point about magic, is the Atronach. This is going to increase your magicka by 150 points. That's substantial. It also has spell absorption, 50% chance of absorbing spells cast at them, and then stunted magic. Magic regeneration is halted, so it's going to prevent standard magic regeneration on you. So to overcome the one negative of stunted magic, you want to focus on restore magic potions. You can also reach 100 in spell absorption as well to absorb incoming spells, and you can use different shrines and absorb magic enchants to get your magicka back. So if you don't mind lower regeneration or none, but you're gonna slam potions and so forth, this is your go-to because it is crazy max magic, allowing you to cast more spells and absorb them. Now, the other one I would pick for more melee-focused builds or something very simple is the Warrior. This is gonna increase your endurance by 10 points. It's gonna increase your strength by 10 points. You're only going to want to select this if you really intend on using the Barbarian, the Warrior, the Knight, or something that is not focused on magic at all. Otherwise, you will be locked into bonuses that absolutely suck and you're not going to use them. The Mage is also good because it's going to increase magicka by 50, but it's not going to have the negative that the Atronach is going to have. So if you don't want to fuss with not having regen, this is a good, decent one to get. The one I picked for the Pew Pew bow build that I'm running is the Thief. It's going to increase agility, increase luck, and increase speed. So all around really good bonuses that will allow you to get to 100 attributes and have big, massive, juicy stats. So that's what I would go with. Now you got to pick a class during the tutorial. And like I said earlier, the 2 I'd recommend are Spell Sword and Battle Mage. Classes are very important because it's going to correlate to how you level, and it's very different and/or complex and different from the original. So let me explain in detail first. So for first-time players, just realize that Oblivion is very magic heavy. I picked a Pew Pew bow build because that's what I did in Skyrim, a huge stealth multiplier, but most people will benefit from having a lot of magic. And the 2 classes that do this the best are the Battle Mage and the Spell Sword. The Battle Mage is going to focus attribute-wise on strength and intelligence. Its major skills are Alchemy, Alteration, Blade, Blunt, Conjuration, Destruction, and Mysticism. Spell Sword is going to be Willpower and Endurance. It's going to have major skills of Alteration, Blade, Block, Destruction, Heavy Armor, Illusion, and Restoration. You're going to have major and minor skills. Why that's important is when you level up your major skills, this will correlate to your overall level. That's how you earn experience. So if you walk around and kill 1,000 mud crabs, you're not going to level up, in case you don't know that. So you're going to need to focus on those major skills, improving those to increase your level. Meaning, pick a class where the activities, aka your major skills, are appealing to you. If you like lockpicking, stealthing around, sneaking, and so on, you're not going to want to do the Battle Mage. Also, if you're not going to be casting a lot of spells, you're not going to want to do the Spell Sword. So it's really important to do this. And the old method of cheesing skill experience still applies to most things. For instance, I picked a Wood Elf, Birthsign Thief, and Class Archer, which is probably not the best. But anyways, I picked this, and then one of my main skills was Sneak. So you can just go in the tavern and go in the corner, set auto run, and then as long as you're not detected in someone's buy, aka the tavern person selling booze, you can sit there and increase your skill over and over and over. So there's a lot of cheesy ways to do this that still apply based on old school Oblivion. So try them out if you're trying to get your level to increase quickly, or you're just sitting playing around a Pokemon and you're on auto run like I did. Okay, so classes. So there's going to be a combination specialization. This was in the original, but essentially it's just either combat, magic, or stealth, favorite attribute, and major skills. This is what's going to make up your build/class. There's going to be 21 standard classes, and you can develop your own with a custom class. So what you get on your standard class is your major skilled favorite attributes, and then what your minor is. Okay, so top two would be Battle Mage and Spell Sword for the reasons I already listed. If you want to play a melee combat oriented build, I would go with the Warrior. If you want to go with high burst, I would go with the Assassin. So I probably should have picked that instead of the Archer. But that's why I'm making this video, to save you my pain. And whatever you do, don't pick the Healer. It sucks. So you're going to do the tutorial, you're going to finish that up. One thing I would recommend doing is to save the game before you make all these decisions that you can't basically redo. It will give you one pop-up before you exit the sewer that will say, hey dude, you might not want to pick something that's not mid-max when that's all you care about in games. Save before that, so when you realize an hour into the game you screwed up like I did, unless you watch this video, you can redo it. Another tip was I was getting nuked. Honestly, I hate to admit this, on a higher difficulty in the tutorial. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? And you get a heal spell right away. So if you don't know, it doesn't tell you, it just tells you about Clairvoyance, which shows you a little trail, but it gives you a heal as well. So if you don't have any potions, you don't have the mortal and pedestal to make potions, make sure you just slot that on your quick slots and use the heal early on to survive. Regardless of the class, you should be able to at least cast it once, twice, 3 times and save yourself from noob death like me. Okay, so you're gonna try to focus on activities and stuff to increase your leveling depending on the class that you picked. Once you get a level up, in the top right there will be a symbol. This is your cue that, hey, you need to go rest in a bed. You need a bed that doesn't belong to anyone. Typically the inns are where you can go and rent a bed for 10 gold or something very cheap to level up. So the game isn't going to really prompt you besides that top right corner telling you to do this. So make sure you go rest in a bed right away. Otherwise you're going to get locked into the main story quest for 3 hours and be at level 1. Yeah, I did that too. Okay, once you level up, you're going to be able to select attributes to increase. Remember the favored attributes from your specific class that you selected and what you should increase and why. So attributes are going to be broken into 8 categories. You're going to have strength. This is for damage dealers that use weapons. You're going to have intelligence, max magic, allowing you to cast more powerful spells. Willpower is going to regen magic, greatly increase your max fatigue. Fatigue is kind of a name for stamina, the green bar. Agility, this is going to be for bows, daggers, and short swords, also max fatigue. So it's really nice to have this as a big attribute if you're going to be using bows or pew pew like I am. Speed determines how fast you move. Endurance, max health, and how quickly you regen. Personality, this is going to affect how many people like you. Why isn't mine at 100? And then luck affects all your skills, having an effect on everything you do. This is going to take more points to increase. So you're going to be able to increase 3 attributes up to 12 points unless you take 1 in luck. Attributes can go from 0 to 100 and you're not going to be able to increase them over 100, so be aware of that. You're going to want to increase something that's going to increase your overall damage, number 1, and survivability. So bow users, I'm going to be doing agility, and then I'm going to increase endurance so I can get more max health. Strength for melee builds, intelligence obviously for spellcasters. And endurance you can't go wrong with, especially if you struggle with survivability. And then one that's going to affect your resource regeneration, and then a third depending on your play style. So if you're doing a hybrid build that uses a little bit of spell casting and maybe uses a weapon or so forth, you're going to have to diversify those attributes, but realize you can increase them to 100 over time. Again, in case you skipped ahead, you can increase these skills to get levels quickly the same old ways. So acrobatics is jumping, and they added sprinting for athletics. So what I do, which is kind of goofy, is just do the bunny hop / sprint if I'm at full fatigue or stamina in between doing quest. So this is going to increase both of those just passively while I'm rounding about and exploring. You can do all sorts of these little tricks quickly by casting spells over and over, or beating stuff, or sneaking around in a tavern, and so on. So do that so you're passively increasing your level as you go over time. Why that's relevant is your level is going to determine a lot of things, but number 1, it's going to determine the gear that you'll have access to. So the higher level, you'll get access to better and better gear. Thus, don't stay at level 1 or 3 for like I did forever and not go rest on a bed to increase it. Increase it, get access to better weapons and items, get more powerful. Next up, you want to join guilds. So in Oblivion, your character can be a member of one or all of the guilds. There's no downside. You're going to need to do this for 100% completion anyways. So the guilds you're going to want to join, the arena. This is going to be like an Imperial City deathmatch style arena, like a gladiatorial thing. And there is the Blade Master and the Bloodworks of the Imperial City. It might take you a minute to get there. This is really useful to join because you can grind out like experience via increasing your combat related skills to increase levels quickly, because something you're going to need to beat on something. So arena is good to power level and just to get better at the combat. Dark Brotherhood, it's a secret guild known for killing people. But you're gonna have to do it, you goody two shoes. So to get this started, just murder someone. You're gonna hear about whispers in the city and Cyrodiil and so on. So you can murder someone, and then when you do that, go to sleep and you might be contacted by somebody. Next up is the Fighters Guild. This is gonna be really easy to do. There are a few Fighters Guild halls in 3 cities. So Anvil, Cheydinhal, and Coral. If you follow the main story quest, you're gonna be introduced to Coral, which is gonna have a lot of different guilds in it anyway, so that's where you probably pick this up. To join the Mages Guild, you're gonna need to speak to any one of the 7 guild leaders in the Mages Guild. So just go in, ask around, they'll tell you who to talk to them, and boom, join. You just can't have a bounty at that time. So don't go on a killing spree. Thieves Guild, secret guild dedicated to stealing. You shouldn't do that. So what you need to do is raise your bounty, get caught on purpose, go into prison. And after being released, you'll be approached by representatives and follow that quest. There are actually multiple ways to join the Thieves Guild, but this is probably the easiest one to do. Now that you got all the guilds, it's going to open up a lot of different quest lines and quest chains to follow. Should give you access to better gear, unique possible items, and just a way to do fun progression. And the stories are fantastic of the guilds. So here's some other recommendations I would do when you're at this point. First thing is get a horse if you haven't stumbled across one yet. When I very first started the game, about 2 to 3 hours in the main story, you're going to be able to get a horse for free. And that's really good because they're super expensive. The other thing about doing the main story initially is you're going to be able to unlock and take out Oblivion portals, which have unique buffs to your armor and gear from the stone that you get at the very end. So I would recommend going through, completing the first Oblivion portal, getting used to that mechanic, and getting a horse. Also, you're going to be making gold early. It's going to be annoying to figure out how to do this. What I did is loot every little plant thing I could find on the ground because I love looting. And then what I did is I just made crap potions and then sold them to vendors. It's going to do a bunch of things for you because you're going to have a lot of crap in your inventory and you're going to be encumbered all the time, like every RPG ever. So it kills 2 birds with 1 stone. Make a lot of gold, you can lower your weight, and 3 birds with 1 stone. That's pretty good. You can also learn new items and recipes and level up your alchemy. Okay, that's 4, actually 5, because when you sell the individual items back to the vendors, you can increase another skill. So it does a lot for you. Pick up all those mats, make it, sell it, prosper. Next up is trainers. You're going to encounter NPCs. In the bottom left corner, they're going to have different icons for like persuasion, bartering, and you're going to notice training. So with training, you can do these trainers, 5, depending on the level and your goal, and you're going to be able to increase a skill. Now, what I'd recommend doing is waiting till the very end of the game when your skill is very high to get it to 100 and use the trainers then. It's going to be tempting to do it early on because you're like, man, I can get 5 really quick. That's great. But imagine when you're trying to increase the weapon thing and you're at 91. You're going to be beating on mud crabs forever. So it's best to just wait till you're super high level, then use the trainers, in my opinion, because you're going to have tons of gold. You're going to have exhausted every easy source of XP for that, and it's going to be hard to get to 100. Another thing is read books. You can buy books from different vendors and you can just read them. As long as they're not red, don't be stealing people, but reading books might increase your skill here and there. So that's another way to increase your skills easy early on, and then use the trainers at the end. Trust me on this. Another thing that's going to be helpful in combat is Conjuration. So you can summon creatures to fight for you. This is super helpful if you have enough magic because they just act as a distraction and carry you. And also, if you're not doing stealth and getting detected, they're super helpful. So just realize you can do that. Another thing you can do early on to level up some skills and get some good loot after you have completed the Thieves Guild intro quest is pickpocket. So sneak up on NPCs, pickpocket them for extra gold, potions, items, and then sell them to the fence. Great way to power boost your overall goal. Also, you're going to make sure to visit vendors and repair constantly. Do not forget Oblivion, you have to repair gear. Another tip is loot everything, even low valuable items will stack up. So when you go to offload a lot of your items, vendors will buy certain things from you depending on what they sell individually. So likely you're gonna find a town with 4 or 5 different vendors, one for swords, one for magic items and scrolls and books and so on, and you make this little loop of offloading all of your junk to those individual vendors. When it comes to exploration, you can map marker, so for dungeons or quest related things you need to come back and do. For whatever reason, Oblivion had a lot of fast travel points already unlocked for me, so don't feel like original game where you have to go and explore it very first to be able to fast travel. If there's a quest, a town, or a major area, see if you can just do it without even going there first. And if you get lost, use the Clairvoyance spell. You're always going to have access to this and cast it, giving you a nice little, hey idiot, go this way. Save often. The game is going to crash and bug out. I had something that bugged out during the main story quest that cost me an hour of time. So what I'd recommend is make a lot of different saves. And if you do get an NPC that's bugged out, usually the horse riding is really hard for them and the pathing. What I found to do is fast travel 2 or 3 different locations. The NPC may or may not show up, and then you can complete that quest. Also discover shrines. So activating various shrines can heal you and or grant you temporary buffs. So if you're going to face a tough fight, sometimes you can go get a shrine nearby and then fast travel to that location and do it. You're also going to need to invest in Enchanting and Alchemy. So you can get overpowered, powerful gear and or potions and recipes. So don't forget crafting. It's super valuable in this game. There's also going to be unique items. So earlier I talked about the level is going to determine the quality of items that you get, but later on or at various vendors, you're going to have uniques. These are going to give you passive bonuses and they're the ultimate items to collect. They're going to be super expensive at various vendors, so keep an eye out for them if you have enough gold to buy them. Now, dress for the area. So wearing heavy armor or light armor or cloth, you basically have 3 choices. So clothing is going to be the best for magic users. Light and heavy armor is going to be for people that use a little bit of magic with light or almost none with heavy. So depending on where you get your protection from, if you're using spells to increase your overall damage reduction, stick with clothing. If you're using armor, depending on how much spells you want, you'll have a penalty if you wear heavy. The thing you should do is, even if you're an archer or a range build, is pick up a sword and shield, or at least a shield. Blocking is invaluable with that stupid shield, especially early on. So you can keybind different things to your bar, including weapons, potions, spells, and so forth. So just remember another thing before big boss fights and or battles, pre-buff. You can stack multiple potions on top of each other. So it's not just one potion that gives you a 60-second buff, you can do a bunch of them. So if you have a bunch of those and or scrolls laying around, cast them suckers. Get really powerful before you go into the fight. Okay, so I think you have a good idea of what to do. Avoid all the mistakes that I made, because even though I played the original, I'm still like terrible, I guess, when I start games. And that's why I make guides, because I suck and I want to prevent you from sucking initially. So you're going to start out, pick the right character based on magic, right? So your race, your birth sign, your class. Then you're going to get out of the tutorial. Save before you do. So when you make a mistake like me, you can hit the load. You're going to look to complete the main story quest for about 3 or 4 hours. You're going to look to join a bunch of the guilds. Then you're going to kind of customize and do activities that increase your skills from your major categories so you can increase your level, resting in the bed to keep increasing that level, allowing you to get access to better and better items. It's going to open up a lot of different passive bonuses for you, making the game super fun. Once you have all of those guilds unlocked and you're doing the main story, you're going to discover a gazillion bazillion quests, and that is part of the fun of any Elder Scrolls game, is to just YOLO around, see what you find out. Oh, there's a butterfly. 4 hours later, you're fighting Mehrunes Dagon. No spoiler. Thanks Bethesda for giving me the code. I hope this video helped you out. If it did, thumbs up. Thanks for watching.